up, you guys? It's T, and welcome to a new segment I would like to call Chat with T. So, in this segment, we're going to be talking about ideas, concepts, theories that deal with books, of course. And I will be still reviewing with my other segment, Books with T. But the idea is to getting to read the comments that you guys leave, and just getting you guys involved in the different discussions that I bring forth, and just sharing our opinions about books in general. So this should not be a one-sided conversation, but I'm not doing it live, so you know it's kind of one-sided right now. But I want to just read what you guys feel about certain topics and subjects that I'm talking about. No pressure or anything. And hopefully I can post this type of episode every Wednesday and then give you a book review on Fridays. That is the goal. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, some questions that I wanted to just bring up in general is about world building. So, world building, I Googled it, y'all, because I believe world building is the concept of just having your own different world that author portrays in their book. And yeah, that's what it is, but the Google definition or the proper way of saying this, because mine might not be that proper, is the process of constructing an immersive fictional setting for a story, a game, or a universe, which makes sense, like honestly. And you see it in the books that you read. So they said that it has six core elements as well. So it's the physical geography and the climate of the story. Just like, is it warm? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it um, what type of civilization it is? The history or the lore in it. Does it have wars? Does it have myths? Things like that. The culture and the society. So, what's the belief system? That's number three. Politics, excuse me, and the economy. So, are these people rich? Are they poor? What is the power? What's governing them, and things like that. Magic or technology. So, do you use technology? Do you use magic to do things or have those functions in the social society that you're in? And then the last one is flora and fauna. So these are just, is it a unique animal? Are there these rules? Um, are they animals, plants, monsters, things that are in this environment that you will not see in different, you know, different books or stories or things like that. So having all those key elements make up world building, and that's like the core of the world building, which I think is very interesting because I've read books and I've read books. I've read one standalone books. I've read series of books. I'm currently reading books. So it's like when you think about world building all in all, one of my biggest things is like, who does it best? And it's a question that I'm going to answer for myself, but I also want you guys to leave it in the comments below about who you think does it best. And it's not just fantasy books, it's any type of fictional book, because I know there are subgenres in fiction. So it can be any type of fictional book that you think, or it can be a comic book, it can be a manga. It doesn't matter as long as this book is written. You know about it, like obviously. Um, just write your favorite one, or I want you to like comment which one you think does it better than the rest. Here are some of mine, and I'm starting with like the ones that I kind of grew up with, or kind of was in that range of growing up with, because I think it's very interesting that these are books that led me to reading the books that I read now as an adult. And I think that is really funny to see like some of the similarities in it, because of course, when you're young, you're reading and you're like, oh, this is cool. And then when you get older, you're like, oh, I understand where it's coming from because I read X, Y, and Z. So now I get it. One of those books for me, especially, was the Spiderwick Chronicles. Now, the Spiderwick Chronicles was very um in the realm of fantasy. It was about these siblings. They were twins, and they ended up moving into the old house where their grandmother and their mom grew up in and stuff, but mostly like their grandmother, I believe. And they found out that there's like this whole world that is beyond just them in the normal like atmosphere. So like there's creatures around them that they didn't even know about until they got the eyesight and they found this book that kind of helped them understand more about what was going on. And I thought that it was so interesting, especially as a kid, because I was like, okay, they're in this house, and basically instead of being in the house bored, they were having adventures, they were going places, and they were doing things. But people thought that like these creatures were like imaginary creatures, but these creatures were real. They're just invisible to everybody else, but they're living amongst them. And I was like, wow, this is a very interesting book and series to read. And I think that kind of developed the world building that I'm kind of talking about with stuff, because I really love when a book does it well. Now, that was my first taste of it. And then my brother, shout out to him, he started reading Harry Potter. Now, me, I didn't read Harry Potter because at the time I was kind of like younger, and I didn't understand some of like the wording in the book. But now that I'm older, yeah, I can read Harry Potter all day. But when I was young at the time, I didn't like read it. So while the while he was reading them, he would tell me about these books, and he always talked about Hogwarts. And I thought that that was so interesting because I was like, okay, Hogwarts is a school, but in this school they have like these subcategories or subsections or houses that they had. So it was like, are you Raventhorn? Are you like things like that? Like, who are you? What house are you going to be a part of? And I was like, oh wow. And then as he was reading and as it got more popular, it became a movie. And then when it became a movie, it was like those things that were read in that book kind of came to the big screen. And it was interesting to see how they portrayed it. And I was like, wow, this is cool. Like, like actually seeing that. Now, those are fantasy books. And there's also Hunger Games. There's also Divergent, which are like dystopian type fictional books. But they do it very well with their world building because, again, those were also things that were portrayed on the big screen. Now, it's a whole different topic if it was done well or not, because I'm not going to get into that one right now. Because, who does it better, the book or the movie? We don't know. Well, for me, it's a different opinion, but we're going to say that one for another day. Also, when I think about it, those are some of the books that I read as like as a child or like a young adult, those are things that I would read. And sometimes I go back to them to, like, review and read again to just understand. Like Twilight was my big one, especially when I was like high school, middle school age. I was reading Twilight, and oh my goodness, it was like I was immersed in it. When that word right there, immersed, I did not put that book down, and I would just read it. So when they did say, "Oh, it's going to the big screen, it's going to be a movie," it was like, if you didn't, the people who got it got it. The people who didn't understand. And it was like, well, I read the book, so I understand what's going on. And the book was very detailed in how it portrayed things, and I feel like, especially when you are reading, you want it to be detailed so you can understand the ins and outs of how the world is being built and how it's affecting the characters at that. And sometimes when we talk about world building, or just in general when we talk about the understanding of it, I think we forget that the characters are there. And it's like, oh, we have this beautiful land, and but what are the characters doing in the land? How is that helping? Like, how did this land become what the land was? That's the historical part of it. Like, how is that affecting them now? And I think getting older, somebody who has done it well, or the book that I feel, or the series, would be the Akatar series. Like, actually reading those books, the world building is there. I love how the author goes back and she talks about like the past, where you have like the Fae or the High Lords talking about what happened in the past and how it's affecting the future now, how things are foreshadowed in it, and just the writing in general. There's layers in that book, but it builds on and on and on and on and on. So as you read the series, you're like, I understand where this part is connected to this part. And I think making the connections with world building is very important for a reader to understand, and also for the person that is actually like sitting there like writing it to understand, okay, this is what I want to portray to my audience, so that they understand, like, hey, even though this character is new to this area or new to this world that's happening, there has been people here that are going to either support or help or uplift anything that needs to be uplifted, so that that character can show growth through it. And I really love how stuff like that intertwines, and I think that the Akatar series does a really good job of that. Now, that might be an unpopular opinion, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. But I really think that that's very interesting to see. Now, understanding that, there are other series that I really like as well, like building this whole world around, which is like anything by Anna Young. Honestly, the Twisted series, it has me in a chokehold. Honestly, it is centered around college life, centered around four friends and their love interest. But the thing is, you know who it's centered around, you know where it's at, and it tells you enough to like let you understand what's going on. And that's more of the realistic fiction side of things. Yes, it's a romance. There's not a lot of magic in there. It's not a lot of other things in there because it is realistic fiction, but it has its own type of world building in a sense. And I feel like that's a question that might need some extra like discussion with, and I want somebody to answer it for me. Is realistic fiction a part of world building? Because I know that it's very relatable. And for me, I'm like, oh, it's relatable, and I understand like they're in college or they're going out in the real world, but it's centered around these characters. So, is it more of character development, or is it both the world building and the character development together? Because honestly, like you see different settings within realistic fiction, but I don't think that it is as heavy as in fantasy. So maybe the genre or the subgenre in it might kind of determine how much world building is happening. And I don't know, like honestly, I'm just, you know, putting it out there as a question on, like, for real, because I don't know. And I want to know, y'all. So if y'all can answer that for me, please do so. I would love it. And to see if, like, am I right with that, or am I like on the right track with it or not? I really am just like, I'm not going to say I don't know anymore. I said it again, but it's okay. But I'm not sure about that one. But thinking about that genre and then going into like the era of like comic books. Like I know two of the main ones that have been out for a long time are the DC universe and the Marvel universe. Now, in that definition, it says you're immersed in the story, the game, and the universe. Now, these DC and Marvel are one of those things. They're books, they're comic books. Um Graphic novels, as some people might have. I think they do have some. There's a lot that goes in and dives into these. And honestly, I'm a fan of them. So what I think they go hand in hand together, and I think that the creators of them have done a very good job, because when I think about Spider-Man and I think about the world that he lives in, this is an example again of realistic fiction. I know that Spider-Man, I'm going to think New York. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I know that the hustle and bustle of New York is something, it's always like, fast, quick paced and things like that. And you get that from how Spider-Man acts. He is a true New Yorker at points in how he acts as a character. Then you have other things like Gotham City. Soon as I hear Gotham City, do you know who I think of? Batman. And I'm like, okay, it's like the setting basically makes me think of, oh, I hit my mic. Sorry, y'all. It helps me think of like the actual person that is there, or that character, which is Batman. So I'm like, oh wow, like I really think that when you think of that and you think of like climate wise, it's kind of more sunny, and something's going to happen, and it's going to be quick, fast pace with Spider-Man. And then when I think of Gotham, I think of, it's going to be gritty, it's going to be dark a little bit, it's going to have you on your toes. It might be a slow burn at some point of them getting, or figuring out the mystery of something. Like those are two different parallels, but they still have world building in it. And I think if you have that type of world building, it helps uplift the character again. So I think that that's why they're so iconic at this point. And I know that I'm just giving two examples, but I know there's multiple in those universes that people can, again, comment below, because I want to know what y'all, are thinking in your heads as well. But Marvel is one of those ones when I think about world building, and DC is as well. Now, with that being said, just understanding like their different series and all, I just wanted to figure out, honestly, how many stories and how many different, like, games and things like that and universes that there are out there that have good world building, because there are some that I named, and I really wanted to have somebody give me their opinion on some more, because of course I'm always here to read, I'm always here to research and trying to find the best out of the best. And those were some of the iconic ones that I know about. Also, even if we get into like anime and manga on that side as well, when we're talking about like books and reading and things, there's so many. I think about One Piece. It's one of the longest running anime and books, like manga wise, that I've known. And when I tell you character, it's like a formula to it. It's like their characters, the world building, like you are immersed in it if you're in that type of area. Like those are one of the ones that I feel like it's doing its thing, even though it's super long. Like you have to understand where the characters are coming from, but I don't know if it's more character centered or if it's more of the world building centered, because they have built the world, you know what the world is, but they add on a lot, and it's very interesting to see. Just like, for instance, you have the world of like Demon Slayer, you have JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. That's one that gives me a sense of like, oh wow, like every season it's a different setup of like, okay, this is the character, this is what is involved in their world. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you can take each season as what it is. And I thought that that was very interesting. So different authors, different animators, different storytellers, just in general, like I think that it's all in their perspective of how they want their story or their game or their manga or their comics or just their universe in general to be portrayed, because I think that there's so many that do it well. And I don't know a lot of them that don't do it well unless it's just like an informational text. Honestly, like they're just giving you information off the rip and that's it. Like how to do something. But honestly, in the fictional line of things, I think there's a lot of different genres within it that you can think about, whether it is from a manga, whether it's from a movie itself, there's screenplays, there's books, there's so many different forms of writing that I think is so interesting to see how building is done. So the questions that I want to leave you guys with for you guys to discuss today, or just in general, whenever you hear or listen to this podcast, is just, what is world building to you? Number one, who do you think, author wise, screenwriter wise, just in general, animator wise, anybody who has done like the world building the best? You can even put your favorite game with world building in there. Like, honestly, I just want to know, because I feel like there's so many different ways to world build, and I just want to see how many books, how many genres, how many things that we can discuss about, like just to see it and just to research it. I think that that would be really cool. So yeah, this was my first segment of Chat with T, and thank you guys for being so supportive. Thank you guys for your future support. Thank you guys for everything that you do, honestly, because you could be doing something else, but you're listening. So again, I will be back next Wednesday to do another segment with something a little bit different. Of course, I know this one's a little bit longer. Some of them might be shorter, some of them might be long, just depending on the topic. If you have any topics about books and things like that, or concepts, unpopular opinions that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. Also, again, answer those questions for me about world building so that I can see what your opinion is. Again, I don't want this to be a one sided type of deal. I want it to be something that we're all immersed in and that we can, come together as a community. So awesome. You guys are amazing, wonderful, brilliant minded folks out there. And yeah, I will see you in the next episode, and happy